a young teenager growing up in Derry, something significant happened that has shaped my behavior, my thinking, and my approach to using emotional intelligence. I just didn't know it at the time. Back then, to get into the city centre, you had to go through an army checkpoint. These were big hulks of buildings that blocked your view into where you were going. As I approached it, I could hear the click, 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 click of the turnstiles. Sometimes turnstiles are a good thing to hear because you're going into Croker's to see your team or you're going to a concert, not these turnstiles. These turnstiles, the click, the sound, the smell of the diesel from the heavily armed vehicles that were around me. Scary, scary place as a young teenage girl. But when I walked in, it was dark, I was afraid, I was vulnerable, and I knew to keep my eyes turned down just as often as was necessary to just get through it. But sometimes I approach going into my city differently. Shoulders back, head up, defiant, staring the soldiers in the eye, giving what my mother would call lip. And I'm good at lip. Of course, that caused me to get searched more, detained more, questioned more, but I didn't care. I blamed them. I was angry. It's my city, and they were in taking over. So, as you think about that and think about choices, check this out. This man is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl talks about the space between the stimulus and response. There's a space. Viktor Frankl wrote an incredible book called Man's Search for Meaning that spoke to me really clearly. Really clearly. And anyone that's a survivor of Auschwitz, I'm interested in learning and listening to them. He said, anything can be taken from a person except one thing, the last of the human freedoms. And that is your choice to choose your attitude in any given circumstance. So think about that. So I thought, that's powerful, that's empowering, I have choices. I don't have to work on autopilot. That's good. So, what I'm here tonight to share with you is how I've grown and developed as a result of emotional intelligence. I'm going to use our forensic mirror. Forensic because it's used and applied in the investigation of facts. And because of the job I do, I get tons of time to look at investigating facts and specifics. So, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence can be two things actually. Half of it is looking out, which is empathy, and the other half is looking in, which is self-awareness. I heard it described beautifully as that 18-inch journey between the head and the heart that lasts a lifetime. It's a constant learning. It's about, it impacts almost everything we say and do. It's synthesizing our wholeness to make us more human. It's thinking about our thinking and blending it with our feeling. And, you know, when you work in business and that word feeling comes up, you're like, oh my God, feelings, those scary stuff. Well, you're going to see after tonight that it's an integral part of what we do and how we do it, because it's the foundation, really, of a host of critical skills, from managing emotions, navigating social complexities, and making personal choices that can lead to good decisions or not. And now for the science bit. Scientists have discovered that we have an emotional brain, and it's called our limbic system. It's different from our rational brain, but they work together, and they're supposed to work together. In our limbic brain, it's where our emotions originate. And get this, we have an emotional reaction before we have a rational reaction. Do you think they should be working together? Something tells me they should. Because when you think about EI and you think about we're social animals, and we are wired to connect and pick up information from other people. But there's something really clever, because they describe EI as another type of smart. And it's got nothing to do with numerical skills or how bright you are, but it's about how you connect with people. It's about balance, it's about integrity, it's about trust. People with high EI, they're easier to be with, they're easier to work with, they're wonderful if they're a leader, they're inspiring. And I don't mean they don't have to be cheerleader inspiring, you can be inspiring in many different ways. There's a wisdom in feelings, and our quest is to get to the why and find out more about it and get us off autopilot. Do you recognize him? Yeah. Free pint for anybody can name him. Tasmanian Devil. I'd say there's a few pints going to have to be bought later. Tasmanian Devil, this guy spirals out of control, and funny as it might be to watch, not so funny or useful to do. And the Tasmanian Devil, when you think about those emotions and the fact that, you know, there's a wisdom in our emotions and it's about getting to the why, he doesn't have the skills to get to the why. But I have great news. You're not Tasmanian Devils. You can get to the why. You can choose your response. You can modify your behavior for an even better response, because emotions, they like attention. They look for attention. And you get a nudge or a wee prompt or a signal. You get something. It's like the child that's tugging at you and you don't know what they're looking for. It mightn't be clear, but you know they're looking for something. But if you get to the why, that's the difference that makes the difference. And that's the core of emotional intelligence. And I love working with EI because every time you work with it, you grow and you see other people growing. And in the spirit of forensic, if Sherlock Holmes was asked for how would you apply emotional intelligence, he might say something like this. He might say, well, there's a pause, and in that pause, there's a space. And in that space, I have the freedom to choose my response, to guide my response, to have a better outcome that has a seismic impact on outcomes. I was in London earlier this year and had the pleasure and privilege of learning with and working with the 6 Seconds organization. I'm going to blank it out for a minute because I lose you. And Josh Friedman is the CEO. Their goal is to blend thinking and feeling to help people make more optimal decisions. The brilliance of their model is in its simplicity. Check it out. Know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself. Know yourself. So let me say that again. Know yourself, choose yourself, give yourself. Do you think the world could benefit from knowing more, choosing more, and giving more? Yeah. Reminds me of an amazing night at a Bruce Springsteen concert, and anybody that's been to see The Boss knows that it's an uplifting and wonderful experience. And you know what he did after giving us many gifts all of that evening? He said as we were leaving the grounds, he said, the last gift he gave us was be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. Now, when the boss is telling you be good to yourself, that's pretty much permission. So, the knowing, it's about, you know, the nudges. What is the nudge? What do you need to get to? What's happening? The giving yourself is that pause. It's empathy. It's understanding. And the choose yourself is step forward with the best version of you and what you're going to give out to the world. And you can really look at it like this. A 3-legged stool. Brilliant balance in a 3-legged stool, yeah? But if one of the legs is a bit wobbly or missing, not so balanced anymore. Think about someone in your world or in your life who has balance, who is easy to be with, who's easy to talk to, who's got integrity, who's got empathy, who care about you and other people, and who generally just care. Now flip that around and look into your forensic mirror and ask yourself, do I have empathy? Am I easy to be with? Imagine if you're a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister, a niece, a nephew, a husband, a close friend. What would they say about you? Would they say that you're easy to be with? Would they say that you've got that balance? Would they describe you as being emotionally intelligent? I don't know. Does the legs on your stool ever wobble or fall off? I know mine have, but we'll get to that later. Another key bit of EI is, and you've heard me say this, empathy. What's empathy? Empathy is stepping into someone else's world and seeing it from their perspective. How good are you at that? Just listen to this. After the terrifying tragedy at Grenfell Tower, Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, on her initial visit, met only with the politicians and the emergency services in private. She didn't meet with the residents whose lives were destroyed and totally devastated. Seriously. Compare that to Jim Parker, the CEO of Southwest Airlines. On 9/11, when the airline business was in serious trouble, he made a decision to refund all customers in full and complete. What happened next was extraordinary. Customers not only refused the refunds, they sent money to Southwest. Parker talks about opening the envelopes and the money falling to the ground and the tears rolling down his face. The customers were telling Southwest, you care about us, we care about you, we want you to survive, you're our airline. In the months following 9/11, unlike all of the other airlines, Southwest thrived. So you think about empathy, you think about the opportunity to really care. At a time of unbelievable fear, uncertainty, and devastation in the world, Southwest were a beacon of light, and they demonstrated huge, huge empathy. It is an integral part. Daniel Goleman, one of the leading lights in this area, has written a great article, What the Dalai Lama Has Taught Me About Emotional Intelligence, and in it, they talk about empathy. And Dalai Lama said it can be one of the hardest to get and maintain and hold. So that's empathy. So let me tell you another wee story about maybe how I apply emotional intelligence in a practical way. I have a wonderful job and I love what I do and I get to travel. And I get to go through airports from time to time. And if I'm asked to step aside to be frisked, the minute I make that movement, normally like this, in an outward fashion, I'm instantly brought back to that young girl frightened of going through the checkpoints in Derry. It's unbelievable. This movement that for so many people is normal and happens thousands of times a day is loaded with negative connotations for me. Loaded. But I have a forensic mirror now. I know about looking for the why. I stop, I pause, I breathe, and I tell myself, I am safe and they're doing their job. I choose a different response. And believe me, guys, I live my life through the lens of positivity and possibilities. So I don't take those perceived negative emotions on that trip with me. I leave them right there. I move on. But it doesn't say that it can't be triggered, but I manage it beautifully. And that works out well. No. Do you think I always get it right? No. So let me tell you. A number of years ago, I went to Haiti with 300 other people to build houses. And it was an uplifting, humbling, and fulfilling experience. Really was. During that week, we got to visit the camps where some of the people that were going to live in the houses that we were building. And, oh my God, the camps they were living in were just beyond belief, worse than anything I could ever have imagined. The smell of human sewage was overwhelming. The taste of rotten decay was absolutely everywhere. Children were naked. They didn't have any clothes. It was just devastating. So on the bus, on the way back to our camp, where we had clothing and food and shelter, someone asked a question. Why were so many of the children naked? Well, I couldn't believe it. I lost it. I did. Legs, stool, the whole thing, gone. I just couldn't believe that that was what he was focusing on after what we had just experienced. And I lashed out with raw emotion. I gave lip. I told you I was good at it. I gave lip. She looked at me, straight in my face, and she said, "This is my first time to do anything like this. I didn't realize it was going to be so bad, so sad, and so awful." I didn't need a forensic mirror to know I got it wrong. My husband, Patrick, my wonderful husband, Patrick, who exudes emotional intelligence and has it naturally, thank God for me, was sitting beside me. One look, you know the look? I reacted too quickly. That's what he said to me. I was like, I got up. But the look said everything else. I'd no empathy. I'd no pause. I'd no concern. I apologized deeply, and I explained why I was wrong. But you know, I'm still learning. Look at that. At 87, the genius that's Michelangelo can tell us that he's still learning. And caro imparo, seriously, we have our work cut out for us big time. Because learning EI is possible, and what's brilliant is it only takes 3 things. It takes desire, really wanting to. It takes practice doing it and using it. And it takes feedback. The breakfast of champions, that's how some people describe feedback. When I think about it and think about learning and using EI, there's people in this audience that I've worked with and the privilege to work with, and they've told me stories about how EI has helped them with their friends, their families. Incredible stuff, incredible. And about being more trusted, and you know, it's wonderful. And then you've got the flip side. Did you hear the one, leave your emotions at the door? Really? Leave your emotions at the door. Emotions can't be taken off and hung at the door like an overcoat. Listen to this. Emotions drive people, people drive performance, and performance drives result. Nurturing EI causes you to reach out across your comfort zone and build bridges of understanding and trust. So, with that in mind, think about this. Practically applying it. Look at yourself. Know the source. What nudges are you getting? Choose yourself. Set yourself a realistic goal. Breathe. Pause. Use empathy. And this one I love. And a friend helped me write this one. Give yourself. Honor yourself. See that your choices send ripples way beyond your lifetime, because they do. So, to conclude, that younger Derry girl has certainly learned a lot. From getting angry with the soldiers and being frustrated, I chose empathy and resilience and to see it another way. I saw that they were only kids too, afraid, in a city that was volatile, and they were probably as scared as I was. So, my invitation to you is stop, know yourself, choose yourself, give yourself, be the best version of yourself, because you know this, emotional intelligence rocks!